Hi, guys. Welcome to the Garden of Storytelling, episode number 4. My name is Bopha.
And I'm Sully.
And today we are going to talk about love and how it has evolved for us.
Let's get right into it. Let's talk about that love.
Yeah, let's talk about love. Let's talk about...
That's not love.
I know, but that's the song that was...
That is not love.
That's a song.
Okay,
Anyways,
exactly.
So let's talk about how we met.
Okay.
What do you recall? I feel like our stories are not going to be the same. Like when did you first remember seeing me?
When do I first remember seeing you?
Or actually not seeing me, noticing me.
Well, I remember when I first seen you. I didn't really know it was you though, because you actually told me that it was you. I met you at a friend's house. I had come in with the girlfriend that I had at the time.
Oh, yes.
And, she had told me the story. And I was like, I mean, I knew who she was. I didn't know that was you when I met you again, right?
Yeah.
And put two and two together like, oh, yeah, I met that. I seen that girl at, one of my buddy's house.
Yeah. So I was over there with two of my other, one was my niece, Pana. Mm-hmm. The other one was my childhood friend, Hieng. And we were speaking in Cambodian. We said, oh, look at that fine guy coming down. And then Hieng was like, too bad he has a girlfriend. I was like, yeah, he's just good looking. Like, that's all,
Yeah. So
and it was around your birthday. I remember that because you guys just got back from dinner for your birthday.
Dang, she even knows that I got back from a dinner. Wow. I mean.
But that's not the first encounter, though. The first encounter.
When was the first encounter?
There's two.
I feel like we have stalking stories right now. Like, this is kind of a little awkward here. Okay. You're married to me.
I know.
I should know these things.
So what's so funny is when I was little, you know how my parents are like super strict. So I only got to see like some Cambodian families. Uh-huh. And one friend came over one day that went to the same middle school you went to. She brought her yearbook. And in middle school, I didn't really go to school with a lot of Asians. Yeah. So I never really I didn't see any other Asians besides the ones in our Cambodian community. Right. And I didn't see them all the time. I saw them a few times a year. And I was just going through it and I was like, oh my gosh, he's really good looking. And then I was like, Sullivan Bacom? Like, how did he get the name Sullivan?
That name.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, and then I thought maybe your parents were just Americanized. Because I'm like, that's such a cool Americanized name, Sullivan. So that was long ago. I never even saw you in person ever.
Yeah, I mean, middle school, that was
That was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, very long
And then when in the summertime, I would go to Seattle. Uh-huh. And then my friend Sokara would go to Texas. We would always ride each other back and forth. And one time, she was back home in Iowa. And then I was in Seattle. Mm-hmm. She wrote to me and said that she saw you over at Adventureland. Yep. So we all, like, I don't know if she had a crush on you too. I think we all thought you were good looking, and we just swoon over you. You had no idea. We never even seen each other. And then when I was in high school, there was a girl in my photography class that was dating somebody that was a wrestler.
Now, I do remember this one pretty well. I don't know why I remember. I do remember. I remember because I remember him coming to me and saying, hey, you know this girl named Bopha? I was like, no, he said Bopha though. You know, I was like,
Bopha these nuts.
But, I was like, no, clearly I wasn't into Asian girls at that time neither. And, not knowing her name, I was like, Bopha? I was like, I do not know a girl named Bopha, bro. Like, I don't know why you coming to me with this. He's like, well, she said she knows you. I was like, bro, I don't know her. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know who she is. He's like, well, would you care if she came to, to the school and watch you wrestle or whatever? I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't know who she is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you want to say.
It's so funny because what I remember is that, so we're not supposed to go off school grounds, and I'm such a rule follower. my friend that was dating this wrestler, she was like, hey, I'm going to go over to North and take some photos. Do you want to come with me? I was like, oh gosh, no, like we can't even leave the campus. So she's like, no one will know. And I was like, well, I'm not going. And it's kind of crazy. The reason why she invited me is because she was telling me she was dating this guy. He's a wrestler at North. I was like, oh, there's this really cute guy named Sullivan at North. Yeah.
It's kind of how it sounded. She's like, she said she's really into you.
Yeah, I know, because I was like, he's really good looking, but I guess I never disclaimed that I didn't know him. So yeah, so she kept asking me. I never went, and then it's just kind of crazy because when you think about like the wrestling tournaments that happens, so you could actually pay tickets to go watch it and be excused out of school.
Right.
I always bought tickets to go to the wrestling tournament, but I never went to the wrestling tournament.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I never saw you. I went. I actually. What did we do? Oh yeah, my girlfriends and I would go to Saylorville and take photos of ourselves.
And you're scared to leave campus.
Well, that was excused.
Like, oh yeah,
because
right.
I paid to be excused. You paid to be excused. Yeah, I paid to be excused. Okay. So it's
okay to pay to be excused, y'all.
Yeah, but you can. Yeah. So, anyways, I hadn't, and then I didn't see you or know you until that day I saw you at our friend's house, and I like that moment. I was like, oh gosh, he's really good looking. He looks better in person because that was my first time seeing you in real life. Yeah, in real life. And then it was a few days after that we were at Coconut Joe's and we were dancing.
I don't know if you guys know about Coconut Joe's, but
that's where
that might be too young. Richard might be too young for you. Remember Coconut Joe's?
Yeah, it was 18 and under, I believe.
Yeah. No, that was
West
a
Des Moines.
That was a different little
like across from Valley West Mall.
Yeah, it's like a little.
Yeah, Coconut Joe's. So we were dancing and Sully was like, he goes, where have you been all my life? And I'm such a shy person. So I was like, right here. I did that. I will always remember that. But then we never, like, it was just,
it was just a good time. Yeah. It was a good dance.
But after that, though, Sully chased me the entire time. And I was like, you have a girlfriend. Like,
are you kidding me? She's kidding, dude.
That's when I was like, there's no way that I would ever date somebody that has a girlfriend. And the fact that you were like, you would always like, ask about me, and I was like, I don't like that. I just didn't like it.
Well, what is a person supposed to do? I'm not the type of person that's just gonna say, oh, that's not something I want, or that's something I want, and just let it walk by me.
That's what I do. I'm like so shy that I would never. I'll talk about it with my friends, but I would never make a move.
If I'm serious about something, you already know me. I'm going for it. There is no stops.
I'll be in the friend zone forever.
Be lucky, girl. Be lucky.
Yeah. So anyways, that's how I ended up starting to like you. But then I could not figure you out because I just like, gosh, he's probably a player. And I just did not want to get played. And so.
You know that John B. song, right?
What song?
Don't listen to.
Oh my God. See, he wants to sing, but he has a mic right there. So he wants to record a goddamn song right now.
Yo, John B., if you know, hey, holla at your boy.
He's retiring, so I mean you can't get in now. But no, anyways, I had a crush on you, but I didn't want to show it, and I never talked about you again. I just kind of would then I started stalking you in another route. Remember when you worked at K Jewelers?
Oh yeah. She would come by. I think you'd come by with your nieces and
my family was here in town from Seattle. Mm-hmm. I would bring them to the mall and I would speak in Khmer and say that there's a guy, he's really, really cute. He's so cute. And I was like, don't like pretend like we don't know him. Like don't pretend I didn't say anything. Yeah. So
that is so funny.
Yeah. Oh but I mean, and it's funny because the girls that you work with at the jewelry store said that you've mentioned that you were going to marry me someday.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd walk by and be like, yo, that's the girl. Like all the time.
Isn't that crazy?
But again, I knew I was trying to get with you, but you wasn't.
I know. And you were very vocal about it. Like you would tell people, I wouldn't tell anyone I had a crush on you. It was hard for me to even say it. So.
Well, you didn't have to say it. I already knew. I already knew. Like, listen, I can read minds, body, everything.
Yeah. So anyways, we never dated. We didn't date until 2004. I ended up dating somebody else. Like, I never really had like really long relationships or anything. And I remember when I was supposed to
Unlike me, I've had more longer relationships, yes.
Yeah, you had longer relationships and I just never did. Yeah. And so I remember it was either you, because you're still chasing me, or this other guy that ended up being like my first real boyfriend. I chose him because I didn't know any of his history. Right. Because I was like, oh, I'm not going to get cheated on. I'll choose, because I thought you were a player. Right. And I chose the cheater.
That's what happens. You choose the wrong door. But hey, you live and you learn.
I needed that.
You needed that.
I needed to be able to understand that and learn that. And you ended up dating somebody else too. Yep. And so I think that timing is everything.
100%.
So I remember we were at Frank's graduation, and I'm always a shy person.
I'm trying to remember if that was Frank's graduation or if it was Terry's graduation.
One of the boys.
I have a feeling that it was Terry's because I remember buying a bottle of champagne and giving it to him.
I know it was at American Legion on 2nd Avenue.
Yes. I have a feeling it was Terry's, but maybe we can confirm.
Yeah. So Sully walked by and he like grabbed my ass. And normally,
I normally don't do that.
And I normally don't.
But like, I was tired of chasing. Like, I wanted to let her know, like, girl. Yeah. I was single. He was single. I want to talk to you. And I'm serious. I'm not playing no games.
Yeah. And so then I actually grabbed his butt back.
So I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You about that life now. Okay, let's go.
Oh my gosh. But I forgot one more other part that you did. So when my first year at Iowa State, I was in a dorm. And my roommate, she's from Minnesota.
Because that's when I was still trying to pursue you.
You were still trying to pursue me. I get a message that says Seliban called. Seliban. She probably couldn't understand what you said. And so I was like, and then in my mind, I was like, is that Sullivan? But I was like, no way. How would he get my dorm number?
I got it from Ted. Yes. Yeah. See, I don't mess around. Like, I'm trying to get with this girl. I know what? I saw her at a party. I saw you at a party. I don't know, one of those parties in Ames, at one of those little strip restaurant thingies. Kirby was throwing a party. I don't know if it was Kirby. Somebody was throwing a party.
Yeah.
At any rate, I saw you there, and I was like, listen, I'm tired of playing this game, man. And this is before I dated the last girl I dated, right? I was like in between girlfriends here. Yep. And I was just like, dude, I need to quit playing around. I need to just go after this. So I hit you up, and your roommate was just like, yeah, no, she's not available. And you never hit me back. And I was like,
no, I looked at it a few times, but I was like, I just can't. Because what if it is Sullivan? Like, what if I end up liking him? I can't do that. Like, no. And so I went back and forth, and I just chose not to call you.
Missed out.
Again, timing is everything. So yes. Yeah, but that was just a crazy, time in our lives where like we just weren't meant to be together at that time. And I needed to go through some heartaches and heartbreaks and some scandalous stuff before I met you.
I absolutely agree.
Because the fact that I never really had I didn't have relationships. Yeah. You would have been my first one, and then it would have been. It was rocky for us anyways, because again,
young.
I was young. I didn't have any experience with relationships. And then I was going off of relationships that I knew, which were my siblings' relationship, for instance, or people in my family. And sometimes they weren't the healthiest. I thought that women were mean to men. And men just took it because that's what I saw. And I did that to you in the very beginning, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She pushed me away a lot. At the beginning of our relationship, I'd have to say that. It's part of, you have to kind of earn it. I get it too.
Yeah. Well, and then I had my guards up because, of course, I, came out of a relationship where I got cheated on. You did too, though.
Yeah, I got cheated on too.
But you've been in relationships before to understand the process of it. Yeah. I was just like, gosh, I don't want to get hurt again, know? And so my guards were always up, and I could never really show you, I guess, the love that I had in me to show you because of the fact that I was protecting myself the entire time. Yeah. And so I remember just being so mean to you. And then I would walk away and I'm like, I actually didn't really mean any of that, but I hope. And then all of a sudden he takes it seriously. I'm like, he's always so goddamn serious. So it's like, I'm so I beat around the bush and I never would be able just to say what I really felt.
Yeah.
And I wanted a reaction from you. And I got a reaction from you every time.
Oh yeah, I'm a bit calm. Like we react.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the first thing we do.
Yeah.
There is no thinking.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's a reaction.
Yeah.
So no, I mean that's I think that's part of relationships, right? The courtship, where you're starting to learn each other, understand each other, try to understand each other's values, what's worth it, what's not worth it. And I mean, that's a lot of things that go into a relationship when we think about that, right? Is like what is this person's tolerance towards me? How are they gonna receive me or not receive me? And these are just things that you learn as you grow into a relationship. And I'd have to say that it's taken a long time to get to this point of our relationship where you can be open and discuss some of these things and really not even have any effect on you in regards to like
you're not offended.
Yeah,
you're just you realize that we still are both growing. So anytime that we have to even say something, I don't worry about what you say, and vice versa. Sometimes it can get heated, and then we've learned to I'm going to disconnect this phone call.
Yeah.
We learned that from one of the other lender. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Anytime you get in a heated argument with somebody, you're just going to say, hey.
I'm going to disconnect right now.
I'm done speaking to you.
Yes.
And I'm not going to speak to you anymore.
So I did that to him one time. I was in Ankeny. I was driving home, and we just weren't. It was like a few months ago, and we weren't seeing eye to eye as we were talking. And I said, you know what, Sully? I'm going to go ahead and disconnect.
And I was like, yes, please do. Just disconnect, hang up, please.
Yeah. And it works. I love it. Because before, like in our relationship, I would let it go so deep and say so much.
She'd be trying to cut a fool.
Yeah.
Like,
let me
get you right here. Let me get you right there.
I would say so much mean things that I didn't really mean, but I felt it a little bit. Obviously, that's why it came out. But I really didn't want it to stick on him. But words actually really stick on Sully. He'll remember everything I said.
I remember everything.
And then I'm like, but I didn't mean it.
You say something to me.
You're just like
and
Campbell.
You made me feel it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you understand that I still feel that. And when it comes up again, I will let you know. And then either I will let it go.
Yeah. Or
I will return it in the same way. So, I wouldn't say I'm vindictive about it, but there's things that just stick with you. It's just like any trauma, right? If you think about trauma in general, if you're in something and you're trying to be in this relationship and you're trying to better things in your relationship and it continues to go down a different route, you kind of run out of options, right? And then all you can do is kind of just suffer through whatever you're suffering through.
Yeah.
Am I happy that I've gone through these things with you? Absolutely. It's where we are at in our relationship now. I know that
miracle.
I know I worked really hard for it, right? Like I didn't arrive at this position of being your husband for this long by just giving up, right? I'm not the type of person, number one, to give up.
Yeah.
And number two, I like a good challenge. I like it when, there are times where I need her to challenge me as a husband as well.
Yeah.
Because how do I get any better as a partner, as a husband, if I'm not challenged in some way or some sort? If I was perfect all the time, what the hell, right? Like, what am I?
Oh, I thought you said you were perfect.
Well, I am.
But no, it is so true.
Right.
And for me, I think coming where I come from in the world that I live in, having to take care of people and, people pleasing in my own family.
Yeah.
I think in the relationship, I was doing that. I wasn't trying to grow myself. I was really more like, basically just being there, right? Like just existing in our relationship. And again, for you need that challenge. So now that I've grown so much in the last 19 years just being with you,
yes,
that I'm coming in with I'm asking questions. I am, I'm debating with you. I am challenging you. And without fear that you're going to take it the wrong way. Because, I mean, sometimes that has happened, you know, obviously in our earlier days. But what I love about what we have now is that we can communicate effectively and be able to be truthful to ourselves and to each other. And I think that's the growth in our relationship, you know? I mean, it's not always perfect. Like, there's going to be moments where I hear you talk and I'm like, that's bullshit, you know, or vice versa. And then I will say it to you. I'm like, I don't see it that way. Normally in the earlier days for me, I would just stay quiet and just nod my head and just think about what you said. And like, okay, he's right. He's right. I never had an opinion. And I think you've always wanted me to have an opinion or my own independence.
Well, yeah.
And
absolutely.
I could never see myself have that because the way, again, from how I grew up, you know, I couldn't speak up for myself. I couldn't voice my opinions. I didn't really have that independence that, you know, one would want in themselves because my parents did a lot of things for me. You know, I didn't have to learn certain things because if I went to my dad for something, he would just go ahead and do it, you know. And then when I started dating you, you kind of did the same too sometimes where you took care of it for me. And I'm not able to process what it is that you just did for me, you know?
I mean, again, that kind of goes back to cultural
it's
things,
a culture.
right? Like as a man or even just as a gender role, right? Yeah. You're taught to be this person who cares and provides. And that's everything you see. Like, oh, you got to provide, take care of your wife and kids and this and that, your family. I mean, that's just, it's ingrained and in a man that's what makes a man. You know, my dad would always tell me, you're not a real man until you have children, right? Like you don't even know what being a man is. Yeah. You know, and that stuck with me for a long time. Yeah. And like I said, until I had an actual child is when he kind of gave me like my rite of passage. It was like, you're a grown ass man now, right? Yeah. And it takes a while to, you know, learn what it is that you want to be as a man. And I think that there's a healthy line in regards to being a husband and wife and being a good husband and also, you know, having also healthy disagreements, meaning that when I'm talking about trying to take care of you and because I was always wanting to be that person, but then at the same time, I wanted her to have her own identity. But then it'd be like, I'm protecting her because I feel like she wasn't ready to do what she was doing. And then we'd get in arguments. It'd be like, well, okay, I asked you, for example, I'll give you one example here. This was a long time ago. I do everything. I pay the bills. I take care of everything. I was like, hey, can you pay the car note? Like that was her only responsibility. Yeah. And she missed the car note.
Oh, yeah. And then we were in the middle of buying our house.
And we're in the middle of buying a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was probably like 5-6 years ago, maybe?
No, when we bought this.
Oh, so 8, yeah.
We had a construction loan.
That's right. It was it was probably like 8-9 years ago.
Yes.
It was 9 years ago because it was the year before.
Yep.
So what happened was she missed a car note. And it was a 30-day late. Yep. And it dropped our score like 100 points.
Yeah, because I think I paid on the 31st day.
I was so mad. Like I was so irate because we're going through all this process of building the house, getting the construction, all these things, and we couldn't get it, and I was so upset.
Well, we could, I couldn't be on the loan. Yeah, you know, and luckily for you, you're such a problem solver that you were able, and then the lender that we were working with was able to figure out how we can still make it happen, and it worked.
It worked out. I mean,
but something like that, it's just, you know, like that whole responsibility, like since that wasn't my role, and so I didn't even really take it seriously, I guess, you know. And those are things like, and as you go in relationships, I feel like all of our roles, it doesn't stay the same, and it shouldn't stay the same. And now it's just like evolved in so many ways that it's really cool to be able to like learn the things that you've been doing, and then you're learning all the things that I've been doing, you know. So like, for instance, like the finances, in that now, you know, whereas before I wasn't. And so like the budgeting and all that stuff, I couldn't get down with that, you know, before. And now it's like such a fun game for me. I just love doing it.
And that's the thing, what I mean by protection, like that's all I was doing was when I seen things like that happen, I was not only protecting her,
Yeah.
I was protecting myself too, right? Like I didn't want to go down that same road because I've been there. I made mistakes, financial mistakes earlier in my ages, you know, like I've done stupid things.
Yeah. But that, you know, it's so crazy that you say that because it's like, well, at how much protection do we protect our loved ones, whether it's our family, husband, wife, our children?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like the mistakes that we make in life, sometimes we learn by making those same mistakes a little bit, you know, over and over again.
Multiple times,
Yeah. And there's times where we do it once and it's such a drastic change in your life that you're just like, I can't do that again, you know?
Yeah, because it's a big loss.
It's a big loss. Yes. Yeah. So it's hard because I think and I talk about this a lot with my friends that are parents. We want to protect our children, right? Yep. We want them to be able to grow at the same time, but if we protect them from making mistakes, how are we allowing them to grow?
It's hard. There's a very thin line, in my opinion, because I grew up with not a lot of per se protection, right? It was like, hey, go out, learn on your own. You're going to make mistakes. And I mean, I made some big mistakes in my life, and that's what allowed me to be better at who I am, and also to understand the world in general. I have
like the real world.
Yeah, the real world.
Because I think that's because the way that we grew up so differently, I had a lot of protection. You had
not much.
Yeah, not much at all. But then I see the way that we think is so different because of it. You are such a problem solver. You're a quick thinker. You don't ever feel stuck. Like you don't feel like it's the end of the world.
Right.
Like for me, like before I met you, or actually when we first started dating, that's what I felt. I felt like if something bad went wrong, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it.
Well,
that's the end of the
you used
world.
to always do that in our relationship. She would always run to her dad or her mom. It'd be like, we get in a fart. A fart. Yeah, if we got in a fart, you know.
Oh my God.
You guys can tell where my mind is at right now. But no, if we got into a disagreement, a fight, not physical, but like, you know.
We never got physical.
No, we never got physical. A verbal, you know, disagreement, she'd be like, well, fine, I'll just leave, you know, or I'll just... And then it'd be like, run back to her mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I remember one time telling her, I was like, dude, okay, you want to run back to your mom and dad every single time? Like things get hard, things get tough.
Yeah.
You want to just go and run? Like you'll never be a human. Like you'll never be an adult.
Yeah. And when you said that, I couldn't even grasp what he was saying because I'm like, that's what my family's here for. Like that's how we've always been. We live in like a village of just helping each other. So and then you know, like for you didn't. So it's like a different mindset. And so I think at the time too, you used to get upset with me because I'm not grasping what you're saying. Yeah. And now that I'm here today at 40 years old, I can see why Sully was upset, but I also can understand why I did what I did too. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I get it because your parents babied you.
Yes.
And your family. I mean, it was just part of
like I know, like I always say this is crazy, but I'm like, if Sully left me, I have my family still. You know, like it's just always been one of those things. You know, where I knew that I always had my family, but it's also not a good thing to think about because. What if I don't have my family? How do I survive, right? Yes. I have to think about how I can contribute to myself and be independent, you know? And it has taken me a long time to get there, but I am here and I'm excited and I am just ready to flourish and, you know, in this decade that I'm starting new. So
I agree.
Yeah.
So I think the whole husband thing, protection thing, that's kind of all come to also now that she's become this person, it's allowed me to also not think about the things that I used to always think about to protect her, protect the children. Now really it's cool. Like it allows me to also level up. It allows me to forget about some of the smaller things that cloud my mind that I have to think about. It's like we talk about the kids a little bit, sharing certain responsibilities. When you think about a pie, right? If you talk about a pie, if you're sharing, if the responsibilities is split between whatever 80-20 and one person is doing 80, how taxing is that on their mind, on their body, on their mental, I mean, there's so much, you know, heaviness. So now that she's, you know, we've been on this journey together, this relationship together and raising our children and being real with each other as humans, as people, as partners, as husband, wife, as friends, all these things, being honest with each other. I think it's really allowed us to now come to this, fruition of her doing her thing. And now she's opened me back up of my time. So instead of now me doing 80% of the pie, I'm now 50 or now 40 sometimes. And then it's like, so now that with that other 40 that I gained back, I can now focus back on me to go up to the next where I want to be or what I want to do. And I think that's the hardest part in any relationship with a husband and wife, even friends, right? If you think about that in a way that, hey, if I'm carrying most of the load and you are the only one that's benefiting, then eventually people who can't make it through don't make it through. This is why you see divorces. This is why you see friends not being friends anymore. This is why you see, kids not talking to their parents anymore. This is real shit. Meaning that if you don't have someone strong enough to push through that hard times, then you're going to lose. And it's just what it is. But I know myself very well in regards to how much I can take and how far I can go. I have gotten better with voicing my opinions because she's helped me to open up my feelings, to say, hey, you know what? I'm tired. I've been doing I'm doing 80, 90, whatever, 100% of this shit.
You don't have to be Superman at all.
And now that you've helped me not to put down my protection guard, like be this manly man where I have to always do everything. I've learned to just say, hey, you know what? I'm at my max. And I could probably push through, but I don't want to push through. I'm going to be good here. Like, I want to be able to take my time. I want to be able to relax my mind too. Because it's when you get, now I get, my dad used to always tell me, work while you can. Because your mind and your body gets tired.
It's tired,
And when you get tired, as you become older, you want to do less. And I didn't believe him because I'm telling you, I felt like I could do
just energized
anything all the time, 100 miles an hour. Like I could sleep literally when I was in my 20s, I could sleep 2 hours and I could work the rest of the 22 hours. No lie. Like nothing was stopping me. And I think that happened up until, still now, if I really want to get going, I can. I just got back from a fishing trip. So, I got it. But those are the things that you have to just, as long as you understand yourself on a level, if you understand your own self on a level of where you can go and where you can push yourself, I think you can make any relationship work. Right?
I think so too. And I love that the fact that you had this experience at such a much younger age than I do, because right now for me at 40, I feel like it's my 20s. Like I'm ready to get it. It's the opposite of yours. Like I know you're like almost retired now and I'm just really starting, and that's why I took on roles that I never would have taken on before, know. Like I'm in the leadership role in the, the Cambodian community. That is something that I'm very proud of and I'm very passionate about, and that I get to now use all my skill sets and my tool sets that I had before. Now I get to really use it and grow with it. And even this podcast, I say it again every single time because it is a place where I can share my stories and be open and be truthful. Because I know that maybe people only see the outside of who we are. They don't get to really go in the minds of ours, And so it is we're very vulnerable to do this, But I think that the world needs to see this because it's real. And that my journey may be different from yours, but maybe you have already been there, or maybe you are there. We all have each other to actually discuss this with, because it's not, so if you're having these issues that we just discussed about, like in our relationship, if you're having those issues, there's hope, because
absolutely.
And instead of thinking that you have the wrong spouse or whatever it may be, it's that it just takes a little bit of work and communication, trust, and support. Like without your support, I would not be here today. There's no way.
Same.
And so for me, it's like, I am ready to even give back more to people that don't have a voice, because that's something that, as an Asian female, we just normally are quiet, our head down. We don't really say anything. But now it's like, you know what? I have a voice. I want to be able to say what I want to say without fearing that someone's going to think something about me, because at this point in my life, I don't really care. Yeah. I know which direction I'm heading, and that direction that I'm heading is actually speaking up for people that don't have a voice.
Yeah.
Something I was always scared to do, you know, because again, you're always just nervous about what other people think. So
I think you have a really good purpose in what you plan to do in these next few years. And I'm very happy to see where this relationship gone. I mean, from where it started, you know, in regards to our courtship, in regards to the beginning of our relationship. I mean, I think everybody goes through these things. Yeah. I hope that people can experience it. It just builds a stronger relationship. I just don't know anybody who hasn't had any type of hardship. Like I said, it doesn't, I'm not even just talking about a husband and wife relationship now. I'm talking about every relationship that you have. I've never heard of anybody saying they've had any type of strain, right? Yeah. Any type of relationship where they've had some sort of disagreement. And I think it's very good to have healthy disagreement. It really challenges each person and your relationship in general to grow and be better than what it already is, right? And I think over these years that we've been together, man, I feel very confident in our relationship, very strong bond. I mean, you're looking at me like you don't do
just laughing. You feel so confident.
But no, I do. I feel confident in our relationship that there's not a lot of things that that threaten me in this relationship. I know what I bring to the table. Yeah. I know what type of person I am.
And I feel like we're both learning each other's each other's strengths right now. Like I'm learning to be a little harder. I'm learning to be a little bit more independent, more disciplined.
Yes.
And you're learning to be a little bit more softer, more nurturing.
Yes.
Those are hard things for you. And
I mean, remember, guys, my mom passed away when I was young, in my 20s, kind of like, and I really was in the Asian. It goes back to the Asian culture a little bit. You're kind of. You don't know a lot because your parents and we were just talking about this. I took Campbell fishing today, ice fishing. My buddy, you know, I texted them, said, "Hey, bro, can you take me ice fishing? My son wants to go ice fishing." Everybody knows I'm not a fisherman. I'm not a great fisherman. I've been fishing, you know, and I'm just not good at it. Yeah. But I love my son. And it goes back to my dad not teaching me, or me never going fishing with my dad. It wasn't something that that he does. And again, I'm not blaming the fact that that's what it is. But what I am trying to do is change that thing that's happening, which is that if he likes to go fishing and he wants to learn, I'm going to learn it too, because I love my children. Like I'm learning to be a little bit softer in that aspect and doing the things that they enjoy, because, you know, or else I'm like, just like Bopha was saying, if they do everything that I like, we're going to go fix up a house and make some money, right?
Because you're taking notice of your children. And I think that's very important. And that's something that I love doing. I love taking notice of what others enjoy, so I can reciprocate that back to them. So it's not always like what you said earlier. When you want to spend time with the kids, your way of spending quality time with them is taking them to go fix houses,
like teaching them,
right? Because you didn't have that either,
right? I didn't have anybody teach me life skills.
Yeah,
I mean, changing oil or change brakes. I mean, dude, there was none of that, you know. So I think if I can, I feel that feeling to teach them certain things, life skills, so that they could say, you know what, my dad taught me that life skill. When they look back, when I'm long gone, you know, they're going to look back and say, hey, my dad taught me that. You know, he showed me that. Yeah. And it may not be, so, you know, again, it's kind of, that was my thought, right? But now I also need to think about, I remember going fishing with my dad, or I remember going hunting with my dad, or I remember, you know, him just... That's starting to enter my mind now. Yes. It didn't before. It was like, man, you little shits. Yeah. I'm teaching you how to use your hands, you know?
Yeah, and you'd come back upset and frustrated that they didn't appreciate you spending time doing that. Yeah. And what's so crazy is, like, I think when the kids get older, when they become a man themselves, they're going to, like Campbell today is going to remember, Dad woke up early to go ice fishing, something he doesn't do nor knows how to do. And he came back home and sat in the car and slept because he was so tired, And so he's going to look at that in the next few years and say, wow, my dad took me to do something he's not good at or even likes doing. Yep. And he's tired from it, but he sacrificed his sleep.
You don't realize that until you become an actual adult, right? Yep. Just like with me and my dad, I remember the time where I cried for a Nintendo. And literally, that thing was $400. And when you think back in 1984, $400, I mean, that was to feed, he could probably feed the family for like 2 to 3 weeks. You know what I mean? And here I am crying for a Nintendo. Now that I look back on it and I seen how much he made, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Like that old man sacrificed a lot for us to have that Nintendo. But at the time, I didn't understand that. I was a child. I didn't know any better. But now that I'm here, that's the same thing. That's why I try to hold my tongue sometimes against these kids, because I understand they don't know.
They don't know.
They're children. They don't understand. Even though I can tell them, dude, don't leave that light on, please. Or whatever.
It's just like Valentina says. She always says, I heard you. I don't understand you though. And I'm like, you're right. You're smart. So.
She's a smart little girl.
Yeah. Because she doesn't hold her feelings back, So
that is the truth.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the relationship in regards to where we're at? And what do you see for how our relationship evolved between people who are in this at the same, let's say, time frame, or do you think everybody just arrives at different times?
I do believe that. I believe that people arrive at different times in the relationship too. Yeah. Because, for instance, I always said this to you, but I didn't understand it at the time I said it. We're only a year apart, but for some reason, I always felt like you're 15 years older than me. I don't know where I came up with the year 15, but I've always said that. But it also makes a lot of sense, though, to how I've grown. Because, like, I was never around someone like you. Like, someone like you is a hard ass motherfucker. That's just who you are. Like, there was no bullshit. And like my family, again, we're all like, we're soft, or, we're very careful on what others think of us. You really came into my life to really open my eyes to see that I can't be soft all the time, Yeah. So like I thought about when I got my first car without my parents, I go, I got to ask my parents first. And you were like, for what? And I said, I need to make sure that it's okay that I buy this car. And he goes, you're a grown ass woman. And I was like, yeah, but my parents even have to approve of even my older siblings' purchase of a home, of a car, anything. And so that's how I grew up. And Sully didn't grow up that way. And so he's teaching me all the things that my world was the opposite of, you know.
And I get your world because I'm in this world. I live, you know what I mean? Like they're my family. Your brother's mom. I mean, this is, I see why you had that is because you guys are very, very strong family relationship. I mean, they speak to their cousins, second cousins, third cousins. I mean, it's literally big, and they're very big into keeping in touch. But it's mainly I would say predominantly your side, just you in general with your brothers, your siblings.
Yes, my siblings, because I don't feel like my cousins and stuff like that, like my mom's siblings' kids are like that. I think it's more our side. And I think a lot of it has to do with my dad and my mom just being that way. I know, like, for instance, anyone that they met at the refugee camp, they're still in contact with them. You know, they're not family, but everyone that is a part of our families, anything that becomes family in general. And so, I mean, think about Linda's mom and, and dad, that's family. We're not blood related, but the way that we count each other is always
you don't
like
have to be blood to be family.
Yeah.
Right? You get to pick and choose your family. And I think that's something that's really natural to your family.
Yeah.
And that's probably your guys' superpower.
It is. It is. I didn't realize how different we were. I always thought that everyone was close to all their cousins, their second cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins. And then I meet everyone, like even you. I was like, so why don't we hang out with your cousins? Because we don't have any cousins here, but in Seattle, we go and visit them quite often. Yeah. And it just made me realize, like, well, no, we're the rare ones. Like, this is not normal.
Yeah, you guys are a little rare.
Yeah, it's a little rare, but it is a great superpower to have. Because then I kind of take that on to anything else I do in like life. Relationship building is my strength.
It's a natural thing.
It's a natural thing, yeah. And so for me, I think like our whole relationship this entire time has been evolving in a way that I could have never expected, because not only is it teaching just me, I'm able to educate this to my own family and show them like the way that we've been doing things. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think that we could actually grow even more if we take ideas from other areas, you know, or other people, other cultures. And I'm constantly teaching my mom and my sisters a lot of things when I talk to them every day. And there's moments where they'll say something. And before I would always just sit there and just nod my head. Now I'm able to tell them like, okay, what you're thinking, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but look at it this way too, you know? And then they're like, oh, wow.
Communicating.
Yeah, because again, when they're not surrounding themselves with other people different than them, their way of thinking is a little very small-minded.
I think all people are like that, right? I mean, if you always listen or talk or discuss the same thing with the same minds, that I'm not saying that, you know, good, you know, all minds that are think alike travel together. I'm saying that you should also take perspective of other people who are different. When you do that, you can grow from that, because you as a person get to pick and choose what you think is right and what's wrong, or what's good, what's bad. And that's the beautiful part. I think that's the most beautiful thing about being human, is that you literally get to pick and choose what you want to do.
Because when you think about it too, like I know the one I grew up, my mom and dad always try to give me like a prearranged marriage. Like they would always try to say, oh, how about this person? I'll look at them like, you gotta be kidding me. I would never. And then I could tell my mom, she respected me in the way that she did ask more than I wanted her to, but she never forced it upon me to say I would give this person a chance, right? And it was always a Cambodian person. So, and it's always somebody that they know. So in their minds, my daughter's going to be protected because we know their family, you know?
And I don't think that when they got to the States, it was more so prearranged. It was more so like, hey, suggestion of who they think would be good for you, right? But that's only the people that they knew, right? So but you can't fault your parents.
No, I'm not.
Because at the end of the day, dude, I mean, as parents of our kids,
I'm letting my kids choose.
No, I'm just saying, you know their personality.
Yes, I do. I know the personality, so I know what.
You know if you're one of your sons bring home somebody that you know can't handle one of their personalities, or they can't handle their personality, you're gonna be like, you're just gonna not say anything, Mom?
I'm not gonna say anything. I would rather have them have their own issues and then have them come talk to me.
Lying.
I'm not lying. I swear to God, I'm not going to.
Okay. Oh, we got this on video, y'all.
Not going to. If he comes to me or she comes to me for advice, I'd give it, but I wouldn't even. No, I just don't think that I would. I don't want to be so involved in my kids' relationships. I've seen that in my own family, and it's not good. You know,
Agree.
Because then if they want to make decisions based on their own relationships, they're so worried about mom and dad, they can't even make decisions because of that. I don't want to be that person to our children. So I think that they have to figure it out on themselves.
You are a changed woman.
I am. But what I was saying is, I remember my mom and dad tried to get me to marry this guy. He used to come to our house to catch the bus, and I couldn't stand him. He always hogged the goddamn TV watching cartoons. I wanted to watch MTV before I got on the bus. He watched cartoons, and he was probably 3 years older than me. And anyways, I still have not seen him since elementary school days, okay?
Oh, that's
and
funny.
I think my mom asked me when I was around 8, like my senior year in high school. And I was like, oh gosh, I would never, And it's funny because then someone goes, he owns a donut shop in Texas, every Cambodian person, right?
You're about to be the donut queen.
So I shared.
Hot dog donut queen.
So I shared the story to Sully. And I guess all of our families are still connected.
Yeah.
So they have this donut shop and they always I don't know who brings it, but somebody brings part of the donuts here. And anyways, they're
not donuts. They're
hot dogs.
They're pigs in a blanket.
Yes.
Yeah. So every time those pigs in a blanket make their way to this household, I always call her the hot dog donut queen.
No, you said you could have been the donut.
Oh yeah, you could have been the donut queen. But she chose otherwise.
So yeah. So it's just kind of funny how I decided not to go with what my mom and dad said. And you know what's so crazy is even when I dated you in the beginning, my mom just told me this recently.
Yeah.
So Sully was a wrestler at this particular high school where this Cambodian man was a janitor at.
Yep.
Sully got in trouble when he was there. And so everyone kind of knew him. And of course, the janitors already have an idea of what he's like. So they told my mom not to let me date him.
So I was a bad boy.
Yeah, and my mom never told me this. She just
wasn't
told me
lying,
recently.
though. I was a bad boy. So.
Yeah, my mom. What's so crazy is for how strict she is. I always thought that she was waiting for me to fuck up, basically, and choosing the person. But after she told me that, it made me realize she actually trusted me more than I thought. Being able to choose a life partner. Without her having any kind of insight on it, because I remember when I first started dating you two and I wasn't coming home, I was living at home at the time, and my mom would be like, Tapana, where's she at? She wanted to come beat me, because I mean,
hey, can you see this? Hey, you can see Ye coming up in my house.
Oh my God.
Where's my daughter?
Yeah, because she didn't want me dating. I was 20 years old or almost 21 and my mom still didn't want me dating. I don't know the reasons why she didn't want me dating, but she did not want me in that position. And she was willing to go find me and actually drag me out of the house. And I remember getting that text or that phone call from Pana. And I was like, okay, I'll go home. So I go home. She didn't mention anything, And then I remember one time my mom called me. This time she now knows I have a boyfriend, but I still am not going to bring him around because she scares me. And I was not going to have her scare this boyfriend of mine away. And I never really told you how strict my parents were.
No, I didn't know and I didn't care.
Yeah. So my mom was like, I need you to run to the store and grab me something. So I was like, okay, I'll drop it off. Sully drove me. And then I get to the door and she goes, oh, your dad wants your friend to come in the house. I was like, fuck. So I go back into the car and I was like, Sully, I was like, my parents are fucking strict. Can you just make yourself sound good? They're going to ask you a ton of questions. I bet you they're going to ask about your fucking family. They're going to ask what you do. They're going to ask all these things. They might even ask how much money you make. I was like, just please just make it look good. So we go in there. My dad's watching WWE.
Pro wrestling.
Yeah. My dad does not talk much. But he's everything he does is always in action. So for him to even ask you to come inside, that was already huge. Yeah. And we sat there and he asked all the questions I told Sully he was going to ask. He did ask who his parents were, who his family were, what they do for a living, all these intimate questions that would scare a lot of people away, but you never were scared.
What was I supposed to be scared of? I was like, man, this old man's asking me a bunch of questions. I'm going to give it to him. So I did. No, I mean, we sat there and I watched pro wrestling with him.
He was quiet the rest of the time.
Quiet the rest of the time. Yeah. And I just answered the questions and we left and nothing else.
Yeah, and then I was able to date you freely. It was really hard to date behind my parents' back. I didn't like that feeling, And I didn't
even know this.
Yeah.
I thought she's a grown woman. I'm a grown ass man. I'm living in my own house,
Yeah. No.
And yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's very different. I did introduce them to my first boyfriend. It was one time and one time only. Right. And so it's, so it was kind of a rare thing to even have my parents know who I'm dating,
And that was the beginning of it all. And then I was I think every weekend I was at Puya's house watching karaoke with them.
Yeah.
Drinking.
Yeah, and hanging out.
that was my
initiation.
My initiation. Like, can this dude sit through what do you call it, karaoke, and drink a ton of Heineken? And can he get through it?
Not only that, it's like my family, when we first started dating, we get together every single weekend.
Every weekend.
It's a normal thing for me. So when we don't, like now we don't get together every weekend, and it feels weird. It took a long time to get over it.
When all the kids were younger too.
The kids, I mean, even when I was younger, like even when I was in college, if I was in town, it came to go out with my friends, I would never go out without going to visit my family first. I always had this guilty feeling of like driving past their home and never stopping by or something like that. And I even get that way with driving past Dad's house, you know, like, and I go, do you ever get that way? You're like, no. Mm-mm. So it's interesting how the way that we were brought up just kind of,
I think also just
shapes us.
I think difference in gender too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
It's just, we're taught, I don't know. I mean, Judd can speak for himself too, but I think in who we are, like really as a man, or even as like my nephew, my uncle, me being his uncle, if Judd really needed me, and he knows that if he really needed me, he'd reach out to me, and he knows I would be there. It wouldn't be any questions, you know. I'd be like, hey, Unc, I need you, dude. Say no more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm right there. I think that's how men are, or maybe it's just our family too. Like, we literally, it's like, hey, if you need me, you already know. I mean, Chico uses me the most. I mean, obviously we know this, but I mean, it's easier for him to say that because we've lived together throughout our relationship. But I think in general, same with my dad, if he needed me, which he does, he calls me. Yeah. But it's nice sometimes, you know, when he doesn't need me and he just calls me too. Yeah. That's nice too, right? Like just to call me and say, hey. Yeah. I think that's the hardest part with us communicating, is that we only call each other when we really need each other. Instead of just calling each other saying, hey, how's your day? Yeah. Did you eat already? Yeah, or, you know, just simple things where you just kind of keep that relationship where it's like, hey, I'm here for you if you ever need me. Yeah. You know,
and that's the opposite of my family, because we're all in each other's business. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like our family's very similar to the Kardashians, how their family, everybody's in each other's business. And so sometimes it can be too much, because I know, like, for instance, with my nieces and stuff like that, when they are dating or breaking up and things like that, we're all in it, you know, and then we're invested in it. And so when they like break up or whatever it may be, we're all attached now, you know?
Yeah, you're too invested in their relationship, right?
And so then my sisters, for instance, you know, like I am the go-to person. Like last weekend, I have two sisters that called me and was like, I need you to talk to my daughter, you know? And it's like, okay. And they have their own ways of how they want, you know, things to happen, and not factoring in their own daughter's like what
their
she
feelings,
wants.
What they want in life. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of a crazy feeling to know that we're always like, everyone's always up in our business. Like whatever decisions we make, they're, you know, like I have older siblings that would be probably on the phone together talking about our decisions, you know, or whatever it may be. Yeah. And it forces, I think what happens too is it makes the kids not want to tell their moms everything because of how much opinions are involved in it, you know? Yeah. So, yeah.
Very true.
But I love the way that our relationship is growing. Yeah. It's evolved in so many different ways. And I'm excited to really see where it goes, because I feel like our partnership in everything we do now is that much stronger because we've figured out who our own identity is. Before, like I said, I was always attached to you, and I didn't have my own identity because I didn't know how to find it in the first place. I took the time.
I wouldn't say you didn't have your own identity. I think that you felt that you didn't have your own identity.
Right, because I didn't. Because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to even search for it. Now, I've taken time to really just be by myself a lot. Yeah. And that's allowed me to have my own identity.
Now you understand why I like my morning coffees, right?
Yeah.
Nobody awake.
And And right now, I don't even like you waking up as early as you do. I'd rather have you wake up at 7 or 8. The 6 o'clock wake up time, you're ruining my own time.
Sleep in the other room.
No.
Don't let the alarm wake me up.
No, like I want to be out here by myself. I don't want you out here with me.
Then get up and leave.
No, like I want to be out here. So anyways, yeah. I'm just
right
excited.
There, healthy disagreement.
Yeah. Just take yourself somewhere else. That's exactly what you do. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see where our relationship goes. And I want to be able to inspire other people with sharing our stories.
Yeah, definitely. I think that in any relationship, just kind of recapping, is that you got to dig deep. You know, if you got to challenge each other every once in a while. You got to make sure that, you know, you're still keeping on each other on your toes. And I think that you got to give to get. Yeah. Those are things that I've learned throughout the process of our relationship. And yes, you're right. You know, sometimes things are going to be said that may not feel good, that may still sting when times of turbulence comes up again. Yeah. And then you try to not remind yourself of those things that were said or happened. And then you keep moving, right? Because sometimes, yes, if you do dwell on things that have caused you hurt or pain, then you can't heal and you can't move forward from it. And I think that's very important because I think in relationships, just like now, we're both two different people. And I think as one person changes, for example, as you change, I'm forced to change. And once I'm forced to change, she's now forced to change again, right? So it's like a back and forth thing because regardless, you can't adapt to when you get used to somebody in a relationship, you get used to this person being this type of way. And then you as a person react, talk, discuss a certain type of way. So you're so comfortable with it. But when this person changes, you kind of are like shocked and you're like, oh, what do I do from here? How do I say? What do I do? And then
that challenge comes in.
Right, that challenge comes in. And then you have no other choice. If you want this relationship to work, you have to change yourself. Yeah. So that's why the action, I think, of being in charge of yourself is the most important aspect of any relationship because you get to dictate if you are going to change to accompany that or you're not. And you're like, hey, you know what? That's it. Like, that's not something that I'm willing to move forward with, right?
It doesn't align with your values. Doesn't align with your values.
Yes. And I think...
Yeah, but it helps you make that decision on who you choose to have as your life partner or business partner or anything like that. Yes. It all relates to the same kind of thing. And so I think that if you understand where your values are and the decisions that you make during that relationship, if it aligns with it, then you know you're going the right path. If something makes you feel uneasy, you know, take a step back, take a look at that and, you know, reassess and have that hard talk and that conversation with your partner and
with yourself too.
With yourself, because it starts with yourself. I don't think that you can have really any healthy relationship if you're not being truthful to who you are and 100%. And know where you want to be or where you want to go. Yeah. So, I agree.
100%.
All right, well.
Thanks for joining us for episode 4, y'all, where we discuss love, relationships, and how everything evolves in between. We'd love to hear from you. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. If you want to know more about us, feel free to DM us or email us. Everything is going to be in the description below or in our bio. We look forward to putting out more content and podcasts and interacting with y'all. Have a great weekend. Go Eagles.
Thank you guys. Have a great one and go KC Chiefs.